Hello, everybody. Welcome. Come on in, take a seat. We are continuing our series on the Dan Markel case today. This is episode 8, guys, and today we're looking at the witnesses in Charlie Adelson's trial. I wanted to take a little bit closer look at these people who testified, some of them anyway, because I think that they give us important information in this case for things that just keep on happening. It's crazy, guys. But we're talking about Dan Markel here. Those are his two little boys with Wendy Adelson, who was his ex-wife, and that's Wendy right there. Okay. Dan was born October 9th, 1972. He was a Canadian-born attorney and a law professor who wrote various works on retribution in criminal law and sentencing, with the focus on the role of punishment in the criminal justice system. Okay. He earned a JD degree from Harvard University in 2001. And after working as a law clerk to a federal judge and as an associate of a law firm, he joined the faculty of Florida State University in 2005, where he was a professor at the time that he was unalived. For those of you who just may be tuning in, I use the word unalived because YouTube does not like the other word, okay? So don't give me crap about it. It is what it is. I'm just complying, okay? I've had people give me crap about using that word. It's ridiculous. Sometimes I get tired of the noise, guys. I really do. So Dan was unalived in Tallahassee, Florida, in 2014 in an unalived for hire, which was motivated by child custody issues following his divorce from Wendy Adelson. Wendy was a clinical law professor and child advocate, also employed at Florida State University at the time. Okay? 4 people have been convicted in this case. The first one is Charlie Adelson, who is Wendy Adelson's brother. Okay? He was convicted of first-degree unaliving, conspiracy to commit unaliving, and solicitation of unaliving, and sentenced to life in prison plus an additional 30 years each for the conspiracy and solicitation convictions. Okay? Sigfredo Garcia, on the far right, he was found guilty of first-degree unaliving and conspiracy to commit unaliving and sentenced to life in prison. He was the one that actually pulled the trigger. After a mistrial in her original trial, Catherine McBanoa, in the middle, was found guilty of first-degree unaliving, conspiracy to commit unaliving, and solicitation of unaliving in a retrial, and sentenced to life in prison plus 2 consecutive 30-year sentences. Louis Rivera, far left, pled guilty to second-degree unaliving and was sentenced to 19 years in prison. Louis Rivera was the one who gave up everything he knew. Okay. This is Wendy Adelson's mom, Donna, and Charlie, his mother. Wendy and Charlie's mother, Donna. She was arrested at the Miami International Airport on a warrant from Leon County, flying to Vietnam, a country that has no extradition treaty with the U.S. Imagine that, guys. She is charged with first-degree unaliving, conspiracy to commit unaliving, and solicitation of unaliving. Okay? She was originally scheduled to start her trial in September of this past year. Then it was moved to February just recently, which we will watch. Her trial is expected to begin in June of this year. Okay? So, I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to look at the first witness that I'm talking about. And this was the neighbor of Dan Markell.
Or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth. You may take your seat. Please speak loudly and clearly. You can adjust the microphone if you need to.
Good morning, Mr. Geiger.
Good morning.
Please spell your name for the court reporter.
First name James, James, middle initial W, last name Geiger, Geiger.
Mr. Geiger, do you live here in Tallahassee?
Yes, I do.
Where do you live?
I live on Trescott Drive in Tallahassee.
How long have you been living on Trescott Drive?
I think it's about 45 years now.
Judge, without objection, I'll move into evidence states 1.
States 1 is admitted.
Permission to publish by way of the laptop.
You may.
Okay. Did you used to have a neighbor by the name of Dan Markell?
Yes.
When was that?
Well, restate the question.
When did Mr. Markell live next door to you?
Oh, well, it was, he died 9 years ago, and he had been there about 5 years before that.
All right. And where in relation to your home did Mr. Markell live?
He was my next door neighbor.
All right. So if we're looking at this photograph right here, which one is your home?
The one on the right is my home. The one on the left was Danny's.
All right. So that driveway there with the vehicle in the driveway, would that have been Mr. Markell's driveway?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Can you tell us about something that occurred back on July 18th of 2014?
On that morning, my wife and I were sitting in our living room, which looks out over Trescott Drive here, and we were working with an iPad on a couch, and we heard a noise, a loud bang. We weren't sure what it was, and I quickly got up to see what might have caused that noise. And there had been at the time some burglaries in the area, and I was concerned that perhaps that had been a burglary attempt. And so as I approached, we have a large window looking out on the street, and as I got to the window, I looked to the left and to the right because I wasn't sure where the noise came from. But on my right, as I looked out, I saw a car quickly back up out of the driveway and then head towards Benton Road very rapidly.
Let me interrupt you for just a moment. Judge, if there's no objection, I'd like to introduce states 2 and 3 at this time.
No objection, Mark.
States 2 and 3 are admitted at this time.
May I publish 2, please? Okay, so is this the view you had from your window looking out toward Mr. Markell's drive?
Yes, that's correct.
And you say you saw a vehicle backing up out of his driveway?
Yes.
What type of vehicle was it?
Well, I caught it out of the corner of my eye, so it was not, I didn't look at it real hard, but it looked like a Prius to me, looked like a silver or white colored Prius.
Anything about the way it backed out? Did it do that normally or something?
So it just went very quickly, and that's what caught my attention.
All right. And which way did it go after it backed out of the drive there?
As it backed out of the driveway, it headed to the right, which was towards Benton Road.
All right. Were you able to see the occupants of the vehicle?
No, I couldn't see any inside.
Did you do anything to further investigate the situation? Could we publish 3, please?
Well, as I said, I was concerned that we had heard that had been some burglaries in the area. And so I thought that I would walk next door to see if that might have been what happened. And as I approached Danny's house, I noticed that the garage door was up and his car was in the garage and it was running. And so I stopped then almost as I got to the garage, and I thought, well, so much for a burglary. If he's getting ready to leave, it wasn't anything like that. And so there must not be a problem. And I turned around and went back to my house at that point.
All right. What about once you got back inside the house? Did you do anything else?
Yeah, I as I got back in,
So he saw the car leave, right? But and the car left somewhat quickly, right? But he still felt something was wrong because Danny was sitting in his car and the car was running, right? So he decided to go up and look. Well, he thought when he saw that, he thought, well, maybe he's just getting ready to pull out. So he walks back to his house. Think about the timing, guys. Dan was hit in the head, right, by a pew-pew twice. Okay? Twice, both shots in the head. And, he sees the car coming. He hears the noise. He sees the car coming out. He goes over there. He sees the car running. He thought, well, they're just leaving. He's just going to leave. So he goes back to his house, waits, doesn't see Dan coming out of the driveway. And let's hear what he says.
kind of stood right at this window, and why, I'm not sure, but I just thought I would stand there for a minute or two and wait for him to go ahead and back out and leave. And after maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, he hadn't backed out yet. And I said to my wife, I said, something seems wrong to me. I don't know what it is. Danny hadn't left yet. I think I'm going to walk back over there and check things out. And so that's what I did, was to walk back over again.
What happened when you got over there?
Well, as I got back over, the garage door was still up. The car was still in the garage. It was still running. And I thought perhaps then that maybe he was on a phone and was simply staying there while he had his phone conversation. But again, I just wasn't quite sure. And I said to myself, well, I'm going to walk on into the garage and make sure everything's okay. And
Mr.
that's
Geiger,
what I did.
in the 5 years or so that you'd lived next door to Mr. Markel, had you ever had an occasion to go over there and check on him before?
No.
So he probably sat in his driveway talking on the phone before, right?
He may have. I don't know. He was in the garage this time. I wouldn't have known if he was there or not.
All right. But for whatever reason, the hairs on the back of your neck stood up this time.
I don't know that they stood up, but there was just something that said I need to check it out.
All right. So what happened when you got over there?
I like this guy because she's trying to kind of put words in his mouth. The hairs stood up on the back of your neck. I don't know if they stood up or not, but I just felt like something was wrong, right? He's just truthful. He's just honest. He's just telling it like he saw it. He's not letting her put words in his mouth. Not that it was that big of a deal what she was saying, but he's just going to tell what he felt. He's just going to tell what he saw, and it's not going to be anybody else's way but his way, the way he saw it. I love that. I would love to get to know this guy. He's awesome.
Well, I as I said, I decided I'd walk on into the garage. I felt a little awkward doing that, but I walked on in, and I looked at the driver's side window, and it was busted out. And at that point, I recalled stepping on glass. And as I looked in, then I could see a man's head but it was bloody, and it was looking through. Part of the glass was still there from the driver's side window, but part of it was blown out. And I looked inside, and I saw a head. It was bloody, and it was moving back and forth slowly.
Mhm. And was it Mr. Markel inside the car?
Yeah, and I said, Danny, what happened? And there was no response, just that slow moving back and forth. And I hollered out again, Danny, what happened? And there was still nothing. And at that point, I knew he needed.
Can you imagine? I have never had to witness something horrific like this, and I can't even begin to imagine what that's like. Right now, he's had 9 years, and guys, yes, it's been 9 years since this has happened, and he's giving his testimony. Okay, he's had 9 years, so he's not emotional, that kind of thing. But I still can't. I think that would be something that would stay with you forever.
Help, and I had to call 911. And so I reached into my pocket, which is where I normally keep my cell phone, and it wasn't there. And then I recalled that while I was sitting on the couch, I'd taken it out and set it down there. So I quickly ran back to the house. It's not very far away, as you can see, and got my phone and then called 911.
Did you know anything about Dan Markel? Did he have a family living there with him?
Yeah, he and his wife had just been married when they moved into that home, and they were there. And then a couple of years later, they had a child, and then another child, and they had some difficulties, and they divorced, or I guess we're in the process of being divorced. And she had moved out, and so Dan stayed there. Frankly, we didn't see him a whole lot.
All right, but he was living there and had the boys sometimes.
Yes.
All right, at the time that this happened.
Correct.
Okay, were the children there with him when he was injured in this way?
Not that I'm aware of.
So you didn't see the children there?
No.
All right, so you go back and get your phone and call 911. Is that
Correct.
right? Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review the 911 call in this case previously?
I have.
All right, and is that your voice on the call that we played previously?
Yes, it is.
All right, Judge, at this time, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 82, and ask for permission to publish.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Case 82 is admitted. You may publish.
What's the address of your emergency?
It's right next door to my house, which is 2122 Trescott Drive.
Can you repeat that for verification?
2122 Trescott Drive, the T.
Okay, the phone number you're calling from?
I'm calling from 850-212-4623.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
We heard a loud bang and the car pulled away from next door. I came over and looked in, the garage door was up, and I thought the gentleman was backing out. And I went back to my house, but he never backed out. And I came back over, and his driver's side window is shattered, and he's spattered and can't answer. He's inside. I don't know if somebody tried to shoot him or if he shot himself or what. I don't know.
And it was at this location, correct?
Right next door. I'll give you mine. I don't know his address. It's next door.
Okay.
You can send an ambulance in a hurry. Me and Jimmy. He's still alive. He's moving.
Okay, what's going on with him?
I don't know. The driver's side window is all bashed in. He's inside. The car is running, and he's got blood all over his head. He's not responding to me. That number, by the way, is 2116-2116.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Jim Geiger, Geiger.
Mr. Geiger, you said that the man that you saw in the vehicle was unresponsive to you. If there's no objection, I would like to introduce State's Exhibit 5 at this time.
No objection.
States 5 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Is this Mr. Markell, your neighbor?
Yes,
Okay, and when you say he was not responsive, was he able to say any words to you?
I didn't hear any words at all.
Okay, what sounds did you hear coming from him?
I didn't hear any sound. I just saw his head slowly rolling back and forth.
Okay, he wasn't moaning at all, or?
Not that I heard.
Okay. All right, may I introduce State's Exhibit 6 and 7 at this time, Your Honor?
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
States 6 and 7 are admitted.
Publish 6, please. All right, so is this looking up Mr. Markell's driveway?
Yes,
All right, and state 7, please. Is this how with the exception of the doors being open in this photo, is this how Mr. Markell's vehicle appeared to you when you approached on that day?
yes.
All right, I'm going to approach with State's Exhibit 4. Mr. Geiger, have you had an opportunity to see that image before?
Yes.
Is that your signature there on the image? Let's see your initials, I
Oh,
should say.
yes, it is.
Okay, and is that indicating that the vehicle pictured in this exhibit is consistent with the vehicle you observed in Mr. Markell's driveway that day?
Yes, that's true.
Permission to introduce and publish States 4.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 4 is admitted.
What do you think that Charlie Adelson is thinking here, guys? He's the one that orchestrated or helped orchestrate this, right? I've seen him shake his head and look like he's feeling sad, but is he really? I think that the whole Adelson family thinks that they were something more than what they were. They thought they were going to get away with this, guys. They thought because of the money that they had that they could get away with this. And this guy right here, Charlie, he was not very intelligent, some of the things that he did.
And I believe you said on the recording there that the car was running. Is that true?
That's true.
Did you touch the victim or the car?
No, I didn't.
Did you move anything inside the garage?
No.
Can you estimate how much time passed between the time you heard the loud bang and the time that you called 911?
I would say between 5 and 10 minutes.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 81. Is State's Exhibit 81 a fair and accurate map? It's an aerial map of your residence and the scene where this occurred.
Yes.
Judge, I'd ask to move into evidence State's 81.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, States 81 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Can you zoom in all? All right, so if you're coming in off of, can you show? Yeah, off Thomasville Road there, the yellow line, How would you get to Mr. Markel's residence from Thomasville Road?
Well, you could do it more than one way. One is to go on a yellow road there, which is Thomasville Road, down to pretty close where that green mark is, which is Benton Road. You would take a left, come up to Trescott Drive, and then go back.
Okay.
That would be one way to do it.
Yes, sir.
Another way would be to exit off of Thomasville Road on Klein, and then come across to Trescott Drive. And in that case, you'd be turning right.
And on that one, we got to go up a little bit, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe Armistead to Klein
Yeah.
to Trescott. Okay. Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. So, quite the testimony from the neighbor. I think that was a very important testimony. The next one that we're going to listen to is Wendy Adelson's ex-boyfriend. She evidently was dating him at the time that the unaliving happened. It's not very long. It's only a couple minutes, not even a minute, I guess. We're going to listen to him.
After asking to speak to me confidentially, she told me that last summer that Charles Adelson had looked into all possible options to take care of the Danny Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and that it would cost about $15,000. I revised the amount. I said potentially that could have been $50,000. I'm unsure of the amount. The rest of the statement, very confident it's true.
This statement was made in what context? What was her demeanor?
Well, she asked to speak to me confidentially. She was dead serious about it. It was a chilling statement. I had a reaction to it. My stomach flipped, a little scary, a little weird. So it was a very serious statement she's making.
Okay. So she tells her boyfriend, these Adelsons for evident. I mean, come on. I mean, he is a podiatrist. So, and she is a lawyer. They're not very intelligent. He made so many mistakes. And she told her boyfriend about it. I just don't get it, right, guys? The next one that we're going to listen to, and we're just going to start it today. We're not going to finish it because it's long. But we're going to listen to Wendy's testimony, okay? So there's two parts to it. And I want to say it's almost 3 hours long total. Okay. So, probably a few videos, guys. But I think it's really important to hear what Wendy has to say, because she just might be the next one who is arrested. She just might be. So let me share my screen. And we'll get started here.
Affirmative testimony you're about to give will be true. You may be seated.
Ma'am, please say and spell your name.
Wendy Adelson, WendyAdelson.
Where are you from, Ms. Adelson?
I'm originally from Coral Springs, Florida.
And where do you live now?
I currently live in Miami.
How are you employed?
Now kind of part-time. I do asylum work and I fundraise for nonprofit organizations.
Are you an attorney?
By training, yes.
Okay. How long have you been a member of the Florida Bar?
Since I graduated and took the bar in 2006.
And are you here today pursuant to a subpoena?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And that subpoena confers use and derivative use immunity to you, so nothing you say could be used against you in the future.
That is correct.
That doesn't mean you have full immunity from prosecution, but nothing you say here and nothing derived from it could be used in that prosecution. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding.
Did you know Daniel Markell?
Yes.
How did you know him?
We were married.
When did you meet Mr. Markell?
We met in the fall of my second year of law school, so fall of 2004.
And where did you meet?
We met in Washington, D.C. He was working there, and I was looking into a summer job in Washington.
When did you get married?
In February of 2006.
And when did you live here in Tallahassee?
We lived in Tallahassee my third year of law school, so from August of 2005 until I think around maybe May or June of 2006. And then we moved to Miami for a year because Danny was interested in working at the University of Miami. Mm-hmm. He did not get the job at University of Miami, and so we moved back here in 2007 and lived here until 2014.
And where were the two of you employed during the time you lived here in Tallahassee?
I was employed at the FSU Center for Human Rights, and Danny was employed at FSU Law School.
Were you both professors at FSU College of Law?
Yes.
And were you living on Trescott Drive at that time?
When we were married, we lived, I think we rented a house before that, but at some point, maybe in 2008, we moved to Trescott Drive.
And is that the home that he was still living in at the time that he was killed?
That is correct.
Okay, and you were no longer living there, is that correct?
I was no longer living there.
All right, at the time he was killed, you two had children together, yes?
Yes.
And how many children did you have?
We have 2 children.
And what are their ages now?
They are 13 and 14.
What about at the time of their dad's death?
At the time of their dad's death, they were 4 and 3.
When did you separate from Professor Markell?
In the fall of 2012.
Whose decision was it to separate?
It was my decision.
That's so sad, guys. These little boys lost their father when they were 3 and 4 years old. They're now 15 and 14 because this trial was in 2023. It breaks my heart, right? I mean, it just breaks my heart that these little boys lost their dad. And everything that I heard about Danny Adelson or Danny Markell, he loved his boys so much. So much. It's just, to me, that's just so sad.
And was part of the reason for the separation the two of you having differing views on how to raise your kids as far as within the Jewish faith?
I mean, it was a small part, but it was part of it.
Okay, that seemed to be something that came up a lot in your communications, so that's why I ask about it. What was the difference of opinion on that?
I mean, when we first met and started dating, Danny wasn't as observant or as religious as he became over time. And so the difference in our perspective on raising kids was about dietary choices and attendance at synagogue, things like that.
So in general, he wanted to raise the children more strictly in terms of the faith than you.
That is correct.
Did you move out of the
Religion and raising children can be a pretty huge contentious battle, right? The thing is that they were both Jewish. Wendy Adelson's family is Jewish as well. Okay. But evidently not as strict in the faith as Dan Markel was. So she didn't agree with a lot of, the dietary things and choices that he was making. It's still, that is the other thing that she was, I think, upset about, is that when she left him, she moved to South Florida where her parents and Charlie were. And when he came home from a business trip or something, discovered they were gone, she had taken mostly everything and just left a letter on the bed. That's how he found out, right? Well, he got a lawyer and said, no, you're not taking my kids all the way there, right? And that is something you cannot do. When you're in the process of getting a divorce, once that's started, you cannot just take your children without permission of the other spouse and or a court. And she did this, and the court made her come back. So that didn't make her happy, right? Because she wanted to be closer to her parents. She didn't have family in Tallahassee. The only reason she was there was because she was married to Dan and she had that job, right? So that was another issue, right? So it was mostly the other thing that she did once he passed away, she changed the boys' names from Markel to Adelson. And one of the boys, I don't know which one, guys, but one of the boys had a middle name that was named after some family member of Dan Markel's. And she dropped that middle name. So she did everything in her power to make certain, almost to try to wipe out Dan Markel's existence in her boys' lives. It just makes you wonder. She's beautiful sitting here, right? She's beautiful. And people said that when she walked in a room and smiled, all eyes were drawn to her. That she was gorgeous, right? That she is gorgeous. What is going on in that brain of hers? Why would a mother not want her children to be around their father? There's no reason for it.
The marital home while Mr. Markel was away on a business trip.
I did, yes.
All right. And did he know that you were moving out when he left for the business trip?
No, he did not.
Where did you go when you left the marital home?
I rented a home in Tallahassee.
Where was that? Do you remember the address?
Aqua Ridge Way.
3303 sound right?
That's right.
Okay. And what was the custody arrangement once you moved out of the marital home?
In the beginning, until we had a formal custody arrangement, we were just finding ways to share custody. I remember that first weekend his parents came, so I made sure he had the children all weekend while his parents were visiting from Canada. But eventually we had a 50-50 shared custody arrangement.
All right. And do you remember exactly what that looked like? Was it week on, week off, or something more complicated?
It was something more complicated. In the summertime, it was week on, week off. During the weeks, it was I think what they called like a 2-2 split, with Wednesday night being an overnight and then the weekends being every other weekend.
All right, but roughly 50-50.
50-50, but that was the split.
Okay. And I want to show you what's been introduced into evidence, State's Exhibit 56. I know you've had a chance to take a look at this.
In mind, she's
before, but if you'll just
testifying
kind of
9
go
years
through it
later.
and tell me if you recognize it.
Sure.
What he's grinning about. It's got to be tough sitting there knowing the camera's right in your face.
Do you recognize the exhibit?
I do.
Is it a fair and accurate copy of your divorce file?
It looks like it, yes.
All right. And is it fair to say this was a contentious litigation process that you had with your ex?
It was.
And I want to ask you about a specific filing in there. It's on begins on page 43. And it's in reference to a filing on January 14th of 2013 where you were looking to relocate with the minor children. Do you recall that particular filing?
I recall the filing. You said 43. I'm not sure oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. On the bottom, there should be page numbers for you.
Yes. Yes, I recognize it.
Okay, and that's the filing in reference to your motion for relocation?
Yes.
Okay, and did you file this motion with the intent to not be successful?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the
It's been suggested that you never thought that was going to be successful. Did you?
I
Or
think
not?
I thought there was a small chance that it would be successful, but not very likely, no.
Okay. And weren't you thinking, well, maybe Danny would be happy working somewhere else because he's mentioned applying elsewhere, so maybe he'll allow the relocation? Were you
Well,
thinking
he and
that?
I talked about the relocation. So when we talked about it, he thought, well, if I can live nearby in Miami, that might work. And then I could commute to FSU. I didn't mean for him to leave FSU, but he wanted to leave FSU at some point. So that
So
was just a matter of time.
So you thought it might be successful?
Sure. I mean, I thought it was possible, but not likely.
All right. And page 46 of that document, paragraph E references the job offer. The wife also desires to relocate to South Florida in order to provide a better quality of life for the children by increasing their access to close family and providing more stability and consistency. Who is the close family in South Florida?
The close family would have been my mom and my dad and my brother.
And which brother is that?
My brother that's here today.
Charlie Adelson?
That's correct.
Okay. What's your mom's name?
My mom's name is Donna.
Donna Adelson?
Yes, that's
What
her
a-
name.
What about your dad?
My dad's name is Harvey.
And where did Donna and Harvey live back in the time frame between 2012 and 2016?
They lived at the home I grew up in Coral Springs.
And how far do they live away from you currently as we sit here today?
Currently, depends on Miami traffic, but anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour.
Right. And what kind of a relationship do you have with your parents as we sit here today?
I have a good relationship with my parents.
And has that always been the case?
I would say so.
Can you describe the relationship that your mom has with your boys?
I think it's very loving. I think she's a very dedicated grandmother.
She spends a lot of time with them, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
And when they were little and you first moved there after Danny's death, how much time was she spending with them?
When I moved there after Danny's death in 2014,
How much time was your mom spending with the boys?
I mean, we were all living together at that point. So, I mean, we were spending every day together.
How were your parents employed? Are they retired now?
They're retired now.
What are they retired from?
My dad was a dentist, and my mom used to coordinate, kind of be like an office administrator at his practice.
And did she write the checks at the practice, paychecks?
Yes. She handled all the bookkeeping.
What was the name of the practice?
The name changed over the years, but probably the name when they retired was the Adelson Institute.
And were your parents wealthy at the time that your husband was murdered?
I mean, my parents worked their whole lives to support us, right? So I think the business did well for a period of time.
About $2 million in profit each year between 2013 and 2016,
They
sound right?
never talked to me about money, so I have no idea how much the business made at any given point.
Did you discuss your marital problems with your mom at all?
I did, yeah.
Okay. What about the resulting legal issues? Was your mom read in on those things?
I mean, I definitely updated her about the results of the relocation when that petition got denied, but not kind of the ins and outs of every part of our divorce.
What about your dad? Was he invested in your divorce status?
I think the same as my mom, just worried about me and worried about the boys.
What about your brother? Did he take an interest in the ins and outs of your divorce?
No, not really.
Did he need to protect you from Dan Markel?
No, I mean, I don't think I need protection.
Were you physically in danger from Dan Markel?
No, I wasn't in danger.
Did the litigation revolving around the divorce and the subsequent issues that arose, did that impact your family back in South Florida?
I mean, only to the extent that I think they felt bad for what I was going through, but
I want to show you an exhibit that I've marked as State's Exhibit 59. Sorry, 57, Your Honor. You've seen this one before as well. Does that one look familiar?
I don't remember it, to be honest. It's from 10 years ago.
Take a moment to look through it.
Sure.
Which ones?
When you're done, I'll let opposing counsel take a look at it, but go ahead and let us know when you're done reviewing it.
What are you guys thinking so far? Do you believe her? I think she's presenting herself well, in my opinion. I don't know if she had to have known, right? She had to have known what was going on. The boyfriend testified that she knew what was going on. I have to admit, I really like her. You know, looking at her and what her demeanor and everything, I really like her. So I hate to think that she's guilty, but I find it hard not to believe her. Which maybe makes her seem very cunning.
Okay.
Gotta wonder what her children know about all this. Now that they're older. I think that she shielded.
Are those emails between you and your mother?
I don't think I responded. I think they're just emails from my mom to me. No?
Okay, mostly all from your mom.
Yeah.
Okay, and the email address says, I think it's something like Wendy Harvey. Can you tell from the content that it's your mom typing rather than your dad?
Yeah, the email's Donna Harvey, my two parents' names. So they've been married over 50 years, so they have a joint email address. So it's from both of them.
Okay, so what I want to draw your attention to is page 2 of that exhibit, that first paragraph there above the word response. Did you have an opportunity to read that?
I read it real fast,
Kind of
but
scanned.
I can read it.
And what I want to draw your attention to is specifically the part that reads, your father has made numerous trips by plane for weekends and changing the patient schedules around so he can continue to spend significant time with the children. Did you?
Are you objecting, Mr. Roush?
I just didn't hear it get admitted into evidence.
Judge, at this time, I'd ask to move this exhibit into evidence.
Any
Number I've already
objection?
No objection.
It's 57.
Isn't it? Go ahead.
Thank you. So that paragraph, isn't that paragraph going into detail about how the issues surrounding your divorce and litigation is financially impacting in a negative way your parents' business?
That's what my mom says here. Yes.
Okay, and it also says, additionally, this loss of income affects my family because my older brother, also a dentist, purchased the practice from my father in mid-July 2012. He has a monthly payment to make to my father based on the sale of the practice. It isn't fair to him to have decreasing monthly income statements from the practice due to my parents spending so much time here in Tallahassee. So this is an argument that your mom is proposing, right, to help you, give you an idea of what might persuade the courts to allow the relocation. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that's what she was doing. Yes.
Okay, and she's indicating that both your parents as well as your brother have suffered financially as a result of you not being
This
able
shows how invested her parents and her brother were
And on
in this
page,
case.
do you have page numbers in the bottom right corner of your exhibit?
I have them in the top so I can see.
Okay, so well, let me look. Give me a moment. So it'll be the second email in your packet, page 1 of 3.
Okay.
Do you see that?
I see that page.
Okay, and there's a rest of your life highlighted or underlined in the center and in bold. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, right before that, it reads, however, the rest of your life and consequently Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. You need to be a good actress you can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Jibbers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet. Who's Jibbers?
Jibbers, she's referring to Danny.
And was Jibbers a name he went by or just something you called him behind his back?
Jibbers was a silly nickname that I gave him during the divorce proceedings when he was being pretty scary and threatening, and it kind of made me feel less scared of him.
Okay, so not something you called him to his face.
No.
But that was a word that was only used to describe him.
Yes, it was a nickname.
Okay. So in this, again,
She's a good actress, is she, guys? Wow. Is that telling or what? And this is her mother directing her. So this ties Donna in, correct? Oh, amazing.
and your mom is referencing how everyone's life is being affected by this relocation, including your brother, Charlie. Do you agree with that?
That is what she said. Yes.
All right. Is your mom overprotective of you?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say she's, a little on the controlling side?
I don't think she's controlling, but she's definitely overprotective.
Did she ever try to micromanage your life?
Maybe, yeah.
Did she have an interest in who you were dating and who you weren't dating and who you should be dating when you were
I
single?
think she was usually disappointed that I wasn't dating more.
Okay. For example, isn't it true that she would like not let you drive to and from Tallahassee to South Florida?
Well, I used to drive before I had the boys, but they were young and she preferred to come with me and give me some extra support.
So what would that look like if you were going to take a trip to South Florida? Would they come up here and get you, or?
No, sometimes I would go myself with the kids, but I was breastfeeding both of them. So it usually looked like me breastfeeding a child while I entertained the other in the Okahumpka rest stop. So
Okay.
it was a lot. It was helpful to have some backup.
All right. And so that time frame you'd be referencing is like the 2013 time frame? Because not around the time of Danny's death, you wouldn't have still been breastfeeding, would you?
If Lincoln was,
Well, I mean, they were 3 and 4 at the time of Dan Markel's unaliving. So having 2 toddlers in an hours long drive, yeah, that would be kind of taxing. I get that. You know, it's not that it can't be done. But I understand that. I get it. I do think her mother was overly involved in her life, though.
3, no, I would have stopped maybe the year before.
Okay.
So maybe
was it
2012, 2013.
okay? And wasn't it true that around the time of the death, they were still doing this practice where they would prefer to drive you to and from South Florida?
I mean, not every time, but sometimes.
Okay. And would your mom sometimes enlist your brother Charlie to convince you to do certain things in your personal life?
Can't really think of an example of that.
Well, dating Dave was a big one on some of the materials I had.
Yeah, people like Dave.
All right. And your mom really liked Dave.
Yeah, everyone liked Dave, but we were just friends.
Okay. Did she try? So she would try to get Charlie to convince you to date a certain person.
I don't think she was getting Charlie to convince me to date Dave. I think everyone liked Dave.
All right. And would she try to get Charlie to convince you to do certain things as far as your professional life? What jobs to take?
No, I don't
She
think
didn't
so.
do that. Would she try to get Charlie to do certain things like advise you on investment decisions, whether or not you were going to buy a house, for example?
I don't think so. I don't remember that. Danny and I made that decision together.
Once you had left Dan and you were living separately, did you look into purchasing a home here in Tallahassee?
I did, yeah.
And did your brother Charlie convince you not to do that?
I don't remember him convincing me not to. The only reason why I didn't was because I was waiting on the money from Danny from the settlement and he didn't pay it, so I couldn't afford the house.
And your mom didn't want you to buy the house, did she?
That's not true. My parents were looking to buy a house in Tallahassee as well.
Okay. Did you have strike? Generally speaking, does your mom manipulate the personal lives of her children?
No.
Is your mom, like, if she's really upset about something or worked up about something, is that something that your brother Charlie's going to hear a lot about? Who's going to hear more of it, you or Charlie?
Well, if my mom's upset with me, probably Charlie. And if she's upset with Charlie, probably me.
Okay, so do you get a lot of that? Do you hear a lot about, let's go back. Let's go to before the murder. Did you get a lot of Donna just giving you an earful about what Charlie needs to be doing?
Probably at some point.
What was Charlie doing with his personal life? What did his personal life look like?
At what point?
Before the murder?
I mean, at what period of time before?
All of them. Wasn't it just a revolving door of girlfriends?
Right, but my mom didn't complain to me about that.
She didn't mind that with him.
I don't understand the question.
She didn't mind if he went from girl to girl to girl. That was acceptable.
She didn't really weigh in on it, no.
Who talked to her more, you or Charlie?
Charlie.
A lot more, right?
Yeah.
At the time of Dan Markel's murder, were your parents extremely angry with Dan?
At that point, no. They were in a much better place.
I want to direct your attention to an interview that was conducted on think this was your law enforcement interview. So July 18th, 2014. And I'm specifically for court and counsel looking at page 27, lines 11 and 12. I've got it open to the page, but you can flip around if you need to familiarize yourself.
Sure.
And I'll take that exhibit if you want.
Okay, guys. So that is where we are going to leave it today. Cliffhanger, right? So seriously, what are your thoughts? Tell me in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think that Wendy is culpable? Do you think she's been involved in this? Do you think that she is not telling the truth? Do you think she's guilty? Let me know your thoughts. I want to know. Do you think that she's going to end up being charged? Right? Is she going to be the next one after her mom? And then what about Harvey? Wendy's dad, Donna's husband, Donna and Wendy and Charlie's dad, I should say, Harvey Adelson. You know, police feel that both Harvey and Wendy Adelson are co-conspirators. Do you believe this too? We're going to pick up on episode 9 with more of Wendy's testimony. And I'm going to keep going on Wendy's testimony because I really think that it's important to listen to the entire thing, no matter how long it takes us. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because I think it's going to play a big role in Donna's case and in whether Wendy will be charged, right? So I'm going to leave you with our grannyism for today. Those of you who know me know that I always leave with a grannyism, a little bit of wisdom. So don't feel guilty when you speak the truth. Instead, feel guilty when you have to accept a lie. Right? We should never have to accept a lie, but yeah, don't feel guilty when you speak the truth. Instead, feel guilty when you have to accept a lie. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being here. Stay tuned for episode 9. I appreciate each and every one of you that come and watch and join in with me on the Markel case, as well as our lives on Sebastian. Eventually, our lives will go another direction, right? Once Sebastian is found. But until then, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you more than you know. Please make sure you like and subscribe. We're almost to 1,000. And remember that once we do get to 1,000, I'm going to select 3 lucky winners to receive a special gift from me, okay? So thank you so much. Have a wonderful... Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at grannyscrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.